lekker hier zitten. Oké. Ja. Yes, okay. Oh, I can hear myself. Are we
Can I hear
good?
myself too?
Nee, die heb ik niet. Thank you very much. Okay, we're good to go. 2 minutes over 1.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to this session that I have the pleasure to host and have a nice conversation with Gwen Collader from Hexaware about unlocking the power of cultural identity, of diversity, sorry. Gwen is the VP Global Head of DE&I at Hexaware Technologies. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ingrid Tappin. I am the founder of Diverse Leaders in Tech. We are a data-driven community set out to help all tech companies across Europe to accelerate their DEI efforts. Gwen, I'm really honored and excited that we get the chance to have this conversation about a topic that's close to our heart,
Yeah.
cultural intelligence. Would you join me and give me a hand for Gwen, please?
So it feels like silent disco.
Yeah.
It's so funny. This is really funny. It's
That's
my
what-
first time. Yeah. So
So Gwen, besides being a VP Global DI at Hexaware, you are also a very esteemed member of our community. Gwen shares a lot of her expertise and experience around bringing DEI to life within global organizations. Could you share with the audience a little bit more about what it is that you actually do at Hexaware?
yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. I'm also very excited about this session. Yeah, so I'm leading diversity, equity, and inclusion globally for a tech company, and the tech company is an Indian company. We have 85% of people that with an Indian heritage working or Indian origin working with us, and the rest all other cultures. And it's been an interesting 3 years so far. Me being from a Dutch culture into this international but Indian-driven organization has been a wild ride, to say the least. And it's very well, fulfilling and interesting to build more awareness, understanding, and action in an organization for them to become more global, aware of the differences that you see around the world amongst people, and that includes clients and customers, and really take the benefits of that. So we do awareness sessions, training, campaigning, programs, really behavioral change focus in the organization to eventually, of course, which is an ongoing journey, becoming more inclusive and that everybody has a sense of belonging in the organization, because at the end of the day, that will make us thrive as an organization as such.
Thank you. I can imagine that working for an organization like that, originally with lots of mindsets, behaviors, beliefs originated in India, and then being a global organization, having also working remotely a lot, that it requires a lot of a leader to be able to, well, simply get everybody on the same same space, in the same place. Just by a show of hands, let's see how culturally diverse the audience is. Who here is from Europe? Whoa, okay, that's a lot.
Well, who's here from the Netherlands then?
Ah.
Living in the Netherlands, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Who here is from Asia? A few from Asia. The United States?
Just
Nobody?
one.
Just one. Thank you for being here.
Africa?
Also a few. Who works for an international organization? Oh, that's a lot. So I can imagine if you are, especially in the technology sector, you have to work across cultures with different teams. We speak about cultural intelligence. What is that exactly, Gwen?
Yeah, that is, well, cultural intelligence is having the ability to relate, to work with, and understand people from different cultures. And it goes a little bit beyond that as well, because if you think about the teams that you work in, it's also about rituals, interactions, and how people perceive things from you coming from a specific culture, and how they do their behaviors coming from that culture. So it is so cultural intelligence has 4 steps. Maybe that makes it a bit more easy for you, all of you to understand and take you through it. So cultural intelligence, well, it could start with your drive. So in what way, and takes a bit of self-reflection, where's your passion and motivation to really understand the differences of cultures in your teams or people that you collaborate with? Do you really want to understand the different cultures, or are you just thinking that the culture that you're from is leading and everybody needs to adjust to that? So that is step 1 in really becoming more self-aware about the drive that you have. And then secondly, it's about the knowledge. So what do you understand from different cultures? And you can take many steps yourself in that, going online to find information, reading books, reading articles. There's so much out there explaining how different cultures work and what the behaviors, common behaviors are that you see from different cultures. And then the strategy is that if you enter situations where you are with international people or working internationally, that you prepare for that. So if you are speaking to a customer coming from another culture, it would be very much advised to understand how that culture works.
Could you give an example, for instance?
Yeah, well, so the role that I have today, it started at Mobiquity, which was a small boutique firm focusing on digital transformation, and that organization was acquired by the Indian company Hexaware, and we are now, as Mobiquity, integrated in this big organization first of all, so that also in culture it takes different behaviors coming from a smaller firm into a bigger firm, but also coming from a multicultural, more Western-focused organization into an Indian organization with their own ways of working. So how we did that was really talk about these 4 steps, really talk with our people about the drive that we have to understand this new organization that we need to enter in, to understand the people that we need to work with, to understand the new clients that we get to work with, and to gain knowledge for that. And we did that through training, sharing a lot of articles and books about that, so that our people get more acquainted with how people work in different cultures. And then the next one is that strategy, so really train them to, before you enter a specific meeting or a specific equation, that you set your strategy. So if you are working with Americans, that you understand a little bit on how they interact with each other, how they build trust, how they negotiate, how they work with leaders. Somebody's laughing there in the front. I would love to hear what you're thinking about right now, but it's a bit difficult to interact with the headsets on. And then the action. So what is it that, and then really what you've learned, put that in action. So that is what we did with the migration from
the 2 companies.
From 2 companies, integrating Mobiquity into Hexaware.
You touched a very interesting point about understanding how people build trust, for instance. I mean, and working remote, working with diverse teams, not only cultural but also multidisciplinary teams. Trust is one of the core components of having a high-performing team, right?
Yeah.
Could you give an example as in how do a few different cultures build trust?
Yeah. So I think what is the most common example that I could give here is that, and this is very high over because every culture has their own specific things, but more of the Western countries build trust in a work environment by working together with task-oriented focus. So if you would be in a team with people more from Asian countries and Western countries, and you put them together, the way that more of the Western countries build the trust is to see if you agree on, if you reach the targets that you've set together, if you do what you say that you've promised to do, and if you meet the deadlines. And if that would be the case, then trust is built. And with more of the Asian countries, trust is built through relationship. So to really have that personal touch, where are you from? What is your upbringing like? What does your family look like? And the trust bridge is built through relationship building. So if you're not aware of that and you enter a situation like that and you come from the West, for instance, you might feel really uncomfortable when the conversation moves more towards a personal level, whilst you are focusing on, okay, but what are we going to do together? So there you create those clashes, you get those clashes in these kind of situations, but you're trying to achieve the same thing. So for me, it's also very important that everybody understands and never forgets that in working relationships, most of the time, people want to achieve the same things, want to be heard, feel seen and respected, of course, but also want to finish a job or a project in a good way, in a successful way. But the way that we go about it, coming from different cultures, might be why we clash. But so, yeah.
So yeah, I can relate to that. I have a lot of people who live in Brazil.
Yeah.
And if you work together with Brazilians, you want to get the job done, you first spend a lot of time eating together.
Yeah.
You first have to spend a lot of time getting to know their family.
Yeah.
And then they know, okay, this could be somebody that I can trust and bring into my house, so now we can work on a task together.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what you're saying, and the same would happen if you're developing a new solution together with a new team. Some people would want to spend a little bit more time, what Dutch people call the chit-chat, and others would say, okay, let me first see if you are able to do this little piece, because then I know if we are going to make this a success.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But these, so having the drive, so the intention to learn, then the next step is learning and trying to dive into different ways of collaborating, having a strategy, and then actually doing it, means it costs a lot of effort and energy.
It does.
It's not something that goes easily.
Yeah.
But still, all the research says that diverse teams, culturally diverse teams, perform better than homogeneous teams. Can you explain a little bit how that comes about?
Yeah, so bringing people together with different backgrounds, experiences, ideas, will bring innovation and creativity to your team and to your organization. That's simply said why culturally diverse teams will perform better than homogeneous ones. But it's not an easy task. And the CQ drive in this step is very, very crucial, specifically for leaders. Because what you see a lot is that leaders, or maybe us ourselves as well, is that we think that our culture is leading. The way that we do is how it should be done. And I think one of the most important assets is to not take that, how do you say that? That stance. And have that that curiosity, that safety of making mistakes, but with the intention, of course, to learn, to create that psychological safety in teams and organizations, to build that learning angle, and that can only come when people feel safe and that there's trust. So. Understanding different cultures will come with mistakes, will come with clashes, will come with challenges. But as long as you build that trust and safety and speak about that and showcase what you can learn from it, and also laugh sometimes about what's happened and make it a bit more light, then you can build on you can leverage the diversity of cultures in teams and organizations. Mm-hmm. But it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah. But I really like the point that you're making, laugh about it, because I think storytelling, so sharing your experiences and being open about, I said this to somebody from Japan, or I stuck out my hand and he or she reacted it differently, and making it more light so that you can create the human connection. I can imagine that that's also a big part of building this capability.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
What are some of the most common unconscious biases that get in the way of true cultural inclusion?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you also, the risk of also talking about cultural differences is that you stereotype people, right? Because the cultural differences that you bring will affect the way that you behave and the way that you think and the way that you interact with people. But on top of that, first and foremost, you are your own person, right? So that is something that is crucial, I guess, for everybody to never forget. But the biases that you normally see is that it's easier to connect with people from your own culture because you know what the behaviors are, you know what the underlying things are, the things that are not easily,
rules.
exactly,
Yep.
the unspoken rules, rituals, behaviors that you see in your culture. So it's easily decided unconsciously that you build a team with people from your own culture, or interact with people from your own culture, or go to lunch with people from your own culture, interact more. So, so that is one of the biggest biases that you see.
And what are ways that organizations can mitigate these biases? Are there any tips and tricks that you can instill into team building, teamwork?
Yeah, there are multiple things that you can do, of course, from an organizational level. Start implementing trainings, of course. Trainings on cultural diversity and understanding these different cultures that you as an organization work with. You can take assessments for that to sort of have a baseline on where you are as an organization and what steps you need to take to become more cultural intelligent. From a team perspective, really build that psychological safety, and that comes with being more aware of your own mistakes as well and share them and laugh about them, and that because that creates connection, and build that trust for people to be open and to build those bridges together. And then I think from your own at your own level, I think one of the things that I do most is really have all your senses out when you have. So I'm leading this global program in this organization, but I also have a global team with all these different nationalities, from Mexico to Australia to the US and what have you. So I'm very much aware that my Dutch culture is absolutely not leading, but that I am Dutch though. I will be in your face as Dutch people are, right? So I always joke about that. I'm trying to always take a step back and really be aware of the fact that how I can come across. And at the same time, I sometimes use it. And most of the time, I really make sure that people know that I know, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that is something that will really help in building those bridges and building those teams and building that psychological safety.
Yeah. So when you say my culture is not leading, what you're actually saying is that you do not have this belief that the way that you do things is the right way.
Absolutely.
And that the way other people do things is the wrong way, and they should be doing the same thing as you. This reminds me of a book I once read about love languages. I don't know if you know it.
Love languages?
Yeah, so there's this psychologist, they wrote this book about the 5 love languages. It's the way that we communicate our love to people and the way that we like to receive our love.
Through gifts.
Yeah,
or
some
through
people have a
touching,
love language through gifts, some people by words of affirmation, some by touch, some by doing things of service, etc. But that it's about not believing that the way that I symbolize giving love is not the truth. And I also have to read between the lines, oh, if they do this, they might mean that and not what I would mean with it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So So be very much aware of the fact that you want to achieve the same thing, but the way that you go about it might be different. To give examples, as my expectations coming from the Dutch culture of being in a project that deadlines will be met, and my Indian colleagues are a bit more flexible when it comes to deadlines. Somebody's really laughing here as well. But it's most probably you recognize a lot of these things, right? So, and I used to tend to become a bit annoyed by it, right? At the beginning, so why are they're not delivering on time? Why is that not so? But if you get more aware of why it is and how they go about that, you have different conversations, and then they understand. So be open about what you expect, also, right?
Yeah.
And see how you can create together the way to
build those bridges.
To build those bridges. Yeah.
One important thing that always is necessary to have a high-performing team is to give feedback.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the way we give feedback across different cultures can differ heavily.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think we have a slide on that.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I'm not sure who knows the culture map, the book The Culture Map.
Okay.
Yeah?
Quite a few people
Who do not know it. It's a very practical and easy book based on a study of 100 cultures, and they go through these 8 dimensions, and it's really highly advised to read it, because it will easily help you become more cultural aware. But the book is built on 8 dimensions. You see them here on the slide. And these 8 dimensions, the 100 cultures, are placed on that scale. So if you think about the Dutch culture and you think about communication, or if you think about feedback, well, the Dutch in average are very much in your face, right? So giving feedback is also very normal, to do that in front of everybody, to do that really direct, no sugarcoating, just
to be
really
as effective as
saying,
possible.
Yeah, effective, fast, and impactful.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're generalizing here a bit, eh? So it's
absolutely.
just okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And realize when I'm saying impactful in the way that we think impact should be created, right? And if you then think about cultures where they're from the they're more avoidant in conflict, and therefore giving feedback is something that is not easily done in the way that we do it in the Netherlands, they will be, well, most giving feedback in a Dutch way to a culture that is avoidant can be very scary, right? To receive feedback from me then. Because in cultures where they're more avoidant, of course it's, it's not direct, it's absolutely not in front of people. It will be with words that are sort of
playing it down,
instead of the words that we like to use here in the Netherlands. So from a Dutch perspective, when you get feedback from people coming from an avoidance kind of culture, you might think they're very happy with everything, because there's nothing really direct in the feedback that they give. So you can easily misunderstand the feedback that you receive from that culture. And the other way around, how you are being perceived as a Dutch person giving feedback, you might really miss the point, because the way that you do it will not be effective. So if you take that next slide, I think we have another slide with feedback on there. It gives so if you see the direct constructive feedback and indirect constructive feedback, and again, this is based on the study from the Culture Map book, you see a couple of countries in the top. The Netherlands is all the way to the left. According to the study, only Israel is more direct than the Dutch people. I'm not sure, is there anybody from Israel here? Do you recognize that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, and I think every Israeli person that I spoke would recognize it as well. But we're more we're at the end of the direct constructive feedback. So frank, blunt, often absolute descriptions like totally and completely, opposite to slightly and sort of when you are from a culture where there is indirect constructive feedback.
What is this also interesting here is that if I am from a Dutch culture and somebody from India or China or Japan would say something very soft to me, like, maybe you should do this differently, if I have developed cultural intelligence, I would know that they really do not like what I'm doing, right? And
exactly.
I would interpret their comment or feedback in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what really helps is to learn to ask the right questions. So if you ask about, do you think my project was good? And you get a yes or a no, so closed questions are not very helpful in really understanding what the other one is saying. So to get a better understanding, for instance, when it comes to reaching deadlines with cultures that are more flexible with deadlines, the question is not, are you able to deliver on that and that day? No, the question will be, what do you need to deliver on time? Or what will be the steps that you will take to get this done?
Okay.
And then you can sort of structure it more in
Right
your
away.
head on what the
Feedback
the
is.
feedback will be, yeah.
Okay, so we're almost ending here, just bringing it back to
Oh
this
my
late,
goodness,
yeah,
yeah.
it's 30 minutes go by fast. These 8 dimensions, I think that this is a really good framework for
Yeah.
going, understanding what are the ways of communicating, what are the ways of acting, a lot across these dimensions of working together, understanding each other, and getting the best out of your team. Um, to end this off with something that we both are very passionate about when it comes to DEI. When we talk about DEI, we also talk about data.
Yeah.
Why is data so important when you are implementing programs like this?
Well, data never lies, right? If you collect the right data and make the right analysis of that, you can really zoom in into the pitfalls that you might have in your processes or the way that you do things in your organization. And bigger topics could be attrition and retention, hiring and promotion, but you can also bring that towards satisfaction and engagement of your people. So data will never lie and show you where you have
Where
to,
you stand.
where you stand and where you have to take action. But it always goes hand in hand with storytelling, with explaining, and with educating.
Okay. Thank you, Gwen, for sharing this. A little bridge to data. As I said, we are a data-driven community. We help tech companies accelerate on their DEI efforts. If your company is interested in understanding where you stand currently on the best DEI practices, what your maturity level is, you can do this DEI scan, and you will get a full report on how you're doing, but also some actionable advice and insights on what steps you can take to progress your efforts. Thank you all for joining, and thank you, Gwen, for sharing your knowledge with us.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Have fun today.